YouTube, hello, welcome back to another freeform video about the Nintendo Switch 2. If you didn't get a chance to watch the first one, it was just an expectations video kind of talking about what I was expecting. By the way, I didn't do too bad. I didn't do too bad. Did okay. But I wanted to take a moment to come on here and talk about the Switch 2, the stuff that was revealed, talk about kind of my feelings on the matter, kind of talk about how I'm what I was excited about. I also wanted to kind of discuss the price thing, which is taking the internet by storm, and perhaps offer a bit more of a grounded opinion on the matter, because I feel like a lot of folks right now are kind of stirring up the negative, and I feel like people are just kind of trying to find a negative right now, and I wanted to offer my perspective on the matter. So let me dive right into it here. So I'm going to start with I'm going to pull the band-aid off right off the rip. I'm going to talk about the software prices. So a lot of folks are pretty upset by the $80 ticket price for the games that were revealed. For folks that haven't seen the screenshot yet, I'll post it up over here so you can see it on screen. There are a couple of games, including the newly released Mario Kart World game, that are listed at $80. And I wanted to kind of talk about that in particular because a lot of folks are upset about that. And again, just so we're clear, rightfully so. $80 is expensive. It's a lot of money for a video game. It's a lot of money for anything, right? $80 is a lot of money. Not going to dismiss that at all, right? It's absolutely true. However, I wanted to kind of take the rage down a little bit. I wanted to kind of pull the rage back a little bit. I wanted to pull back on the reins a little bit, right? And try to lift the veil a bit. So Mario Kart World is included in a bundle with the Nintendo Switch for $50, right? So there's a way around the $80 ticket price. If you want Mario Kart, you can get it with the bundle for $50, right? Now, if you want the physical version of it, which is absolutely fair, and the folks that prefer physical over digital, obviously they're getting the short end of the stick here, right? They got to buy the $50 game, or the $80 game. They've got to spend the extra dollar reduced to get the little red cart to make sure they have it physical, right? They have to do that. There's no way around it. There's no shortcut. They've got to spend the $80. So basically, they're paying a premium at that point because they likely are paying a premium to have the physical cart in their hands in their collection, right? That sucks. It does, right? Not going to dismiss that. Getting that off to the side, right? The other three games that are $80 are all Nintendo Switch 1 titles with upgrades and or more content, or DLC. I'm gonna call them DLC moving forward, right? I'm speaking specifically to Mario Party Jamboree and Kirby and the Forgotten Land, right? Both of those games are coming with DLC. So those games I'm putting off to the side as well. We'll get to those in a minute. We're going to start with Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. Both of those games are currently $10 more than their MSRP on the Switch 1 for the Switch 2. If you buy it for the Switch 2 and you want the little red cart that comes with Breath of the Wild and the upgrade, right? Or Tears of the Kingdom and the upgrade, you're going to have to pay full price, right? Again, for the physical folks, that's a bummer, right? But for the folks that are buying these games that are just like, well, I don't want to have to spend $80 to play Breath of the Wild again, you don't have to, right? If you've never owned a Switch before and you just want to play Breath of the Wild at the increased, fidelity, and you don't care if it's on the red cart or on the Switch 1 cart, you can buy Breath of the Wild for the Switch 1. You can buy Tears of the Kingdom for the Switch 1. You can buy Jamboree, Mario Party Jamboree on the Switch 1. And these games have shown that they go on sale. We've seen lower prices. Tears of the Kingdom at Walmart right now, or at GameStop right now, rather, is $45. $45 plus what we assume is a $10 upgrade. And now it's $55, not $80, right? But if you want it on the Switch 2 specifically with the red cart specifically, and that all lines up, then yes, you're going to have to spend the $80. And that does suck. Again, I get it. I understand that sucks. But if you wanted to keep that game forever and have the physical version and then be able to play it at a higher fidelity, you can do that for less money, right? There are options. There are ways around getting the $80 ticket price, right? Now, it's absolutely fine to hold Nintendo's feet over the coals, to not buy the Switch 2 versions of these games because they're too expensive, and to force them to bring the prices down. No issue there whatsoever. What I'm not going to sit by and tolerate is this ridiculous fear-mongering. What's happening is that you are paying a premium price to own a physical version of a new game on a new console generation with all of the upgrades and the stuff that comes with it, which means all of the DLC for Mario Party Jamboree and for Kirby and the Forgotten Lands, because those are DLC packs. They come with new content, right? If you're getting Mario Kart, and I'm talking specifically just for the folks that want to own the video games. I'm not talking about physical versus digital. I'm talking about owning the games and having access to them. If you were going to buy Mario Kart, you're buying the bundle. You're not buying it for $80. You're buying it for $50. If you wanted to have Tears of the Kingdom at an upgraded fidelity, you likely already own Tears of the Kingdom, and you're just paying for the upgraded fidelity. And if you have the Nintendo Switch Online and Expansion Pass, which I'm going to showcase here as well, you don't have to pay for those upgrades either. They're included with your Expansion Pass subscription. So if you have that already, or even if you don't have that, you can upgrade to the Expansion Pass, get to play the GameCube games in the Switch 2, and get Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom's upgrades for no extra charge. It's included with the Expansion Pass. That's automatic, right? You don't have to pay for it. You don't have to do anything more. It's just automatically included with the Expansion Pass. Now, granted, that is an extra $50, and that is part of the cost, right? But you're also getting all of those GameCube games. You're getting all of the other games from the original Nintendo Classic System, so the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Game Boy, etc., and all of the other content that comes with it, including the Booster Pass for Mario Kart 8. So if you wanted to go back and play Mario Kart 8 Deluxe instead of spending the $80 on Mario Kart World, you have access to all those new tracks now because you've got the Expansion Pass now. For the people that think that this is going to be the standard set by Nintendo moving forward, my counterclaim is automatically back at the original graphic that I showed, right? Mario Kart World is $80. Donkey Kong Bonanza is $70. Why is Donkey Kong Bonanza $70 and Mario Kart World $80, right? Where's the justification? You assume, I assume at least, that Nintendo's going to share that justification, right? Whether it's because Mario Kart World seems to be the most ambitious Mario Kart game that they've ever made. I can't. Maybe there's like 2 full games in that, and that's the reason why they decided to make it cost $40 or $80 instead of $70, because you're actually getting 2 games, not 1. Regardless of what the purpose is, right? Their other first-party title, which, by the way, is the first time we've seen a Donkey Kong game since the 90s. Since the 1990s. This is the first time we've seen a 3D Donkey Kong game since Rare made Donkey Kong 64 for the Nintendo 64, which was 5 console generations ago, is the last time we've seen it. That brand new title, for the first time in Donkey Kong's, almost 30 years, right? That we've seen a 3D Donkey Kong game, it's $70. It's not $80, it's $70. So we already have an example of Nintendo not doing the $80 bundles or $80 cost, right? Immediately. So there's got to be something about Mario Kart World that they believe justifies them upping the cost. Whether it's they don't expect people to buy it individually, and that's why they're just including it with the Switch bundle, and then if you want to buy it, you got to pay for them to make it, basically, and that's why it's $80, so they can recuperate that cost. Possibility, right? But I don't think it's setting a precedent, because if it was, Donkey Kong Bonanza would also be $80, right? That's just a fact, right? There's no dancing around that. It's a fact. And so, I don't want to give in to this fear mongering, and again, I mentioned this on stream last night too. There's a reality where the people that are complaining on the internet, they're absolutely right? Nintendo starts selling things at $80 for all their first party games, and it's a huge issue moving forward. You don't have to buy them, right? You can force Nintendo to pull the prices back. Oh, well, Nintendo won't listen to us. They literally did. Look at what the Switch 2, and this is a good end of the Switch 2 specs. Look at what the Switch 2 can do. Here's the spec sheet. I'm going to put it up on the sheet right here. Look at what we've got. They have an NVIDIA processor and an NVIDIA GPU, and it's going to run games at 4K 60 frames, or 1080p, or 2K at 120 frames per second. That's insane. This has basically got the same kind of power that you would expect from a PS5 or an Xbox Series X. You don't have to buy the first-party games if you don't want to, right? You can just buy the console, play all the games that you love on that console, because it's got that power, and when you're not able to sit down on the couch anymore, pick it up off the dock and play it at 1080p 120 frames with an HDR screen. What's the actual complaint? Because the 2 other games that are coming out that day, the day the Switch releases, are Bravely Default, the remaster from the DS, which costs the same amount as the DS game when it first came out, which is $40, or Street Fighter 6 with all of the DLC packs included for the first 2 years of DLC Fighters for $60. Those are the 2 games, 40 and 60. So we've already got examples from third-party vendors that they're not going to be selling the games at $80. Cyberpunk 2077 is coming fully included on the game cartridge, 64 gigabyte game cartridge, right? Got the whole game on there, no downloads required, $70 with everything included. It's the Ultimate Edition. It comes with everything, all the DLC and everything, $70. Everything's included. We have so much evidence already that you do not have to spend $80 to get a game on the Nintendo Switch 2. But that's not what sells, is it? Right? That's not what gets you to click on the video, right? And that's probably not why you wanted to click on this video too. You're probably here to argue with me, right? But like, here are the facts. There's one game on the Nintendo Switch 2 that is a Nintendo Switch 2 title that is $80, and there's a way around spending that $80 cost. The three games that are $80 that were on the Nintendo Switch 1, you can get around that by buying them on the Nintendo Switch 1, buying the upgrade pack, which is probably going to be around $10, unless it has like DLC like Mario Party Jamboree and Kirby and the Forgotten Lands. Since those have new content, those may be closer to 15, maybe they're 20, right? Because it's not only an upgrade, but it's also got DLC included. Maybe it's a little bit more pricey. We don't know yet. Until Nintendo announces it, we don't know anything, right? Until they actually confirm what the upgrade packs are, which at the time of this recording, they have not. And the way that this console is going to change the game industry, I feel like people right now are trying to find something negative, right? And again, I am leaving room for me to be 100% incorrect, right? I may be wrong. Maybe Nintendo comes out and they do just drop Luigi's Mansion 4 at $80, right? And you have to spend $80 to play Luigi's Mansion 4. Maybe the next 3D Mario game comes out and it's $80, right? There's a chance. I'm not dismissing that. There is a chance. It could happen. And so all that I'm asking at the end of the day is for you guys to like take a step back, for everyone to take a step back, right? Look at what we have in front of us. Look at the information and the facts, not the people that are emotionally charged, just raging about something on the internet. This is too expensive. It is. It is. $80 for Mario Kart World is expensive. That's absolutely true. You do not have to spend $80 if you don't want to. Just a fact. You don't have to. You're buying it for $80 because you want it a certain way, and if you want it that certain way, you're paying the premium to get it. That's the answer, right? If that's the way that you want to get it, that's fine, right? It's available at least. They could have just said it's only digital, and you had to get it with the bundle, right? Or you had to buy it off the eShop and not offered the physical version at all. And then people could have said, that's not acceptable, right? And going back to my original point, which was the counterclaim of, like Nintendo's going to listen to us. They made this console because everyone has been complaining about the Switch at the end of its life cycle and the performance of the games on the console, right? Because there are people, I'm not one of them for the record, so take this with a grain of salt, because I'm going to be as objective as I can when it comes to this, because I don't really care what a game looks like. If it's fun and it plays well, I could care less if it's 30 frames per second. I do not care. When it comes to Nintendo listening to its fan base, everybody had an issue with the frame rate. Everybody had an issue with the fidelity. They went from 720 off the dock to 1080 docked without hitting 60 frames consistently, as we all know, right? To now skipping past just getting to that stability to 4K 60 frames docked and 180, 120, or 1080p 120 off the dock with an HDR screen. This is a massive jump, and the only reason they made this jump is because the consumers demanded it, right? This is what they were asking for. This is what they wanted. This is what us as a consumer, this is what we wanted from Nintendo. This is what people have been complaining about for years now. And now it's here. And now you got to find something else to complain about. Well, we're going to complain about the Switch 2 price. Oops, it's $450, which is cheaper than the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. What's the argument now? The game's $80. Only if you want it this one particular way. If you don't want it this one particular way, it's not $80, it's $50. They're trying to upcharge the original Switch 1 games. No, they're not. They're trying to charge you more money if you want the Switch 2 version of that game. If you want the red cart version of that game. You can buy it on the Switch 1 and upgrade it. You have that capability. You have that functionality. You're able to do it right now. You don't have to do it this way. And if you want to, you pay a premium. It's no different than you buying a collector's edition because you want the statue or the fun little postcards that come included with it, right? You're spending a premium to get the little postcards, right? What's the big deal with that postcard at the end of the day? What's the big deal with the little fun steelbook that I bought, right? If you want the red cart version of Tears of the Kingdom, spend the $80 to get it then. If you don't want it, don't get it that way. You don't have to, right? It's that simple. I really think that this is being blown out of proportion, and I really think that this is and that's my biggest issue with this. I agree that $80 is a problem, right? That don't hear what I'm not saying. $80 is an issue, and Nintendo can't sell their games at that price level consistently or basically ever, if I'm being honest, because the consumers just won't pay for it at the end of the day, right? We had the same conversation with my community regarding Grand Theft Auto 6. So the rumors out there that were saying it's going to be $100. No, it's not. No, it's not. Rockstar is not going to do that to their consumer base. They know that the people will not buy it, right? And why would they do that when they're going to recuperate any kind of lost, quote unquote, revenue from their online services that they're absolutely going to have in Grand Theft Auto 6? They're going to recuperate their losses, if there are losses, right? When they're selling it at $70 or $60 or whatever it might be, right? But anyway, so I'm going to get past the negative side of it here. I just wanted to take a moment to try to ground some folks. I really don't believe that this price thing is as big of a deal as even content creators on here, and content creators that I have respect for too, with some of these clickbait titles saying like Nintendo's greedy, or, you know, this is a big disappointment, or the Switch is really bombed, or the consumer base is, etc. You've seen all the clickbait titles, right? And it's part of that is the negative news side of it, where negative news just sells. So for folks that are not used to consuming stuff on the internet, and maybe like this is your first experience with a new console generation, coming into a new console generation, first of all, welcome to the community. I promise it's not as negative as it seems. And also, it's just that negative news sells, right? It sells on Twitter, it sells on YouTube, it sells on TikTok, it sells on Instagram, wherever you go to gather your video game knowledge. Me being smiley and talking about the things that I'm excited about, it just doesn't sell, right? It just doesn't sell. It's not a way to get people to click on the video. It's not a way to get people engaged with the video. If I had opened with the things that I was excited about, the odds of somebody clicking on this video are actually lower than me leading with, why are we talking about the prices the way that they are? And as soon as I say prices, here they are, right? Now you're engaged. Now you're here because you want to be part of that conversation, right? And it's because people are passionate about it too, which is part of the good side of it. But the truth is that negative news sells. There's just nothing. There's nothing else to be said here. We should be excited about all of these things. And again, we should hold Nintendo responsible for their prices, right? If $80 is unacceptable, we have to show them that by not buying the physical version and either not buying the game or buying it via the bundle, right? And saving the money. And again, for the folks out there too, and I want to break this down real quick before I go into the things that I'm excited about, because that's the real reason I wanted to make this video. I wanted to talk about all the things that I was excited about, and the overwhelming amount of negativity has just completely ruined my day. For the people out there that have been really, really banging the drum about the physical side of things, I do want to point out this is something that I think is an underappreciated fact when it comes to specifically game design, game sales, and how games are packaged, right? So people who buy video games, right? These studios, meaning the big publishers, the big developers, the big buns, Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, right? The big three. We're going to call them the big three. These big three have data sets on our purchasing patterns and the way that we buy video games more than anybody else in the business, right? They know how we're buying these video games. They know how they need to package and sell these video games, and they know how much each of those video games cost to sell digitally, to sell physically, and how that affects their profit margins. You do not have that data unless you work for them. You just don't. It's not public information. They're not making it public information, and no one has outwardly shared this information to my knowledge for us to be able to garner it and use it as fact, right? If they are pushing digital sales of video games, it is not always going to be because they're trying to stick it to you and say that you can only have a license for this game, and if they decide to take it away, then they'll take it away forever and you can't play it anymore, right? They know that the sales breakdowns. If they're trying to charge you more money to buy the physical version of this new game, there's a reason for it, right? It's not because they're trying to stick it to you. It's probably because it costs them more money to make the physical version of the game at the end of the day, and they're not getting enough sales to justify making all of the physical versions of the game. That is far more likely than Nintendo, Sony, or Microsoft trying to stick it to you as a consumer, because if they lose your trust as a consumer, you go to PC and you stop buying console games. That's the truth. And they all know that, right? That it's overnight. If they lose your trust, you're gone. And there are other ways for you to play their video games that you don't have to buy a PlayStation 5 anymore. You don't have to buy an Xbox anymore. Now for Nintendo, you still do. But with the new mouse features with the Nintendo Switch 2, I wonder how long that'll last before Nintendo decides to make their own PC app Do I think that that's going to happen anytime soon? No, I don't. But do I think it's a possibility now? Hell yes, I do. And you should too. They clearly have some level of understanding and recognition of the fact that people want to play games together, even if they're not nearby, with the GameShare system or the GameChat system. They understand that people want to, share their games with their friends online with the new way that they're handling digital game sharing now, right? That's also part of it. They're trying to invest in digital games and then give you a reason to purchase digital games. This is not to pull the rug from underneath you. This is to help you get more value from your digital title while also saving a physical footprint by making all of this plastic and selling all this plastic, and saving them all, at the end of the day, dollars for having to make all of these things and manufacture all of these things, because it costs them money, which affects their margins. And that is part of the equation, whether we as consumers like it or not. So all of that is also part of the equation, and probably its own video at the end of the day, because I could sit here and rant about the business side of it for hours. Literal hours. And at the end of the day, if you want to keep it and you want to have it physically, you're going to have to, and this is going to happen across the industry, by the way. You're going to end up starting to start paying a premium for having the physical version. You're just going to have to. It's going to be part of it because it costs extra money to buy all of this stuff, this plastic, this manufacturing pieces, this cartridge, the CDs, whatever it is, get the data put onto those discs or onto those carts, and then sell them to you as a consumer, right? But again, if they are trying to push these digital products, it is because they understand that their consumer base is purchasing them digitally. I don't know. I get it. If you, the person, you buy them physically because you want to make sure that you have them forever. You want the cases lined up on the shelf, right? That's you. That's absolutely fair. That's absolutely fair. I'm saying that there is a reasonable possibility that these companies are not trying to screw you over by trying to make digital better, right? I think they're just trying to make digital better. I believe that, right? I'm leaving room, and again, I'm going to get into the positives now, but I'm leaving room for me to be absolutely incorrect about this, because here's the reality. All of this is subjective. Your opinion on it, my opinion on it, the person who posted the negative video on YouTube that says this is unacceptable and now they're not going to buy a Switch 2, that's their opinion on it. None of this is fact. We do not know what Nintendo is going to do with their games moving forward because we don't have the information to prove it. We don't. If they say, oh, this is enough, no, it's not, because the two brand new games on the console, one is 80, one is 70. You don't know. You don't know the answer. You don't. You just don't. So for now, it's all opinion. And I reserve the right to change the way that I feel if we have more information down the road that shows that it's not something that, or that it's something that Nintendo's going to start doing, right? Then we can revisit this and go, you know what? It's unacceptable. We can't afford to spend $80 on these video games. I'm not buying first-party Nintendo titles moving forward. And I'll be willing to say that. I'll be willing to admit that, right? 100%. Because none of this is based on anything outside of the facts that we were provided so far, which is very little information, right? They offered a lot. They really did. There's a lot of information out there. But we are still operating under limited information about a console that has not released yet and will not release for another 2 months, 2 calendar months from today, right? We're not even going to know. We will not know until all of these new games start getting listed out at the prices that they're going to be at the end of the day. So all I'm asking from the community, from folks online, is that you give it a chance. Give it a chance to come out. Be upset that the one game that is $80 is $80, right? That absolutely raise the alarm and say, not acceptable. We're not going to buy this at $80. We're going to buy the bundle because then it's only $50. We will buy it at $50, but we're not going to buy this at $80. And if you try to sell something at $80, we're telling you now that's not going to work, right? And that's absolutely fine if it's constructive. What I'm seeing online right now is a lot of destructive approaches to this, basically saying that, this is absolutely not acceptable. You shouldn't buy a Switch 2. If you buy a Switch 2, you're part of the problem. That is not how this is working at the end of the day. Now, moving to the positives, because I do want to talk a little bit about the positives. For the folks that have seen my reaction videos on the on my YouTube channel, which they're here in the description as well if you're interested, those are the games that stood out to me in my head, where I was just I think people would want to see, me being excited about these things, because I was excited about a couple of things from the Switch showcase that I thought were fair to see. And there were a couple of ones that weren't like quite long enough, that were like a minute long. I didn't think it was worth making a full long form video for, but I might make some short form content on it, maybe post it here on YouTube and on TikTok as well. But I'm very excited about the Switch's power. I'll be honest. I know that there was a lot of people that were just like, oh, we expected the Switch to be at 4K. I didn't. I didn't expect it to be 4K 60 frames native. I didn't expect it to be 2K 120. Like you could have that option to drop it to 2K and still have 2K graphics at 120 frames per second. I was not expecting that. So the Switch console being $450, which is going to be $500 at the end of the day because I'm getting it with the game as well. The fact that it is that price and you're getting that level of power out of it. I mean, the PS5 Pro is almost 2 times more expensive to do the same thing that the Switch 2 is doing. And that's crazy to me, man. Like, that's crazy. So for me, I'm very excited about the console and the possibilities on the console. I did watch a little bit of the Treehouse before I started recording this, and Mario Kart World looks amazing. Like, it looks fantastic. So I'm not going to sit here and justify $80. I'm not going to do that. Okay, that's not what I'm trying to do. What I am telling you though is that if you haven't watched the Treehouse gameplay, you should give it a look. It's only about, I think it was like 15 minutes or so, but that 15 minutes, it left me very impressed. I am super excited to play the game. I cannot wait to do the way that they handled the Grand Prix, where it's like a constant thing instead of just like a race at a track and then you're like inserted into new track. I love the way that they've handled the new Grand Prix system and how you get to drive through to the next, like one of the laps is driving to the next course. I think that's awesome. And I'm very excited to play it with my friends. A couple of the other things that I'm super excited about for the Switch 2, I'm very excited about this GameCube Classic, dude. I'm so excited. I'm showing my age a little bit, but the GameCube was like my bread and butter growing up. It's the console that I probably spent the most time on outside of the Sega Genesis. And I played like Sonic Adventure 2 Battle a whole bunch. I played Resident Evil 4 a whole bunch, as most folks probably have. I've played so many games on that console. The 2 Pokemon games, I'm so excited that I don't have to worry about the physical versions of that anymore. It's nice to be able to have access to it. I get to go try a new Fire Emblem game. I got Fire Emblem 3 Houses was my first Fire Emblem game. So I get to go try it. I think it's called Path of Radiance. I'm excited to give that a shot. It's, and there's just so much to be excited about with the GameCube, like on the GameCube with the Wind Waker at improved graphics too. I can't wait to dive back into Wind Waker again. And I am planning, by the way, for folks that are interested, I am planning on doing a stream on the day the Switch releases. As long as I have it in my possession on the day, I am planning on doing a stream with the Switch 2, and it will be a long stream. We're going to be playing one of the new games, Mario Kart World. We'll play the new Switch, the GameCube Classics games. I'll show off Tears of the Kingdom at 4K, because Tears of the Kingdom, by the way, confirmed 4K 60 frames. Unbelievable. Like, I can't wait. I'm going to dive back into that and I'm going to lose it. Like, I loved Tears of the Kingdom. For folks that didn't see my top 10 Switch games, Tears of the Kingdom is my favorite game on the Switch. Like, it's close. Like, 3 Houses is up there for me. And I haven't, again, I'm sorry, Xenoblade fans. I have not played the Xenoblade Chronicles games. I'm sure they would be up there for me. But Tears of the Kingdom was a special experience for me in particular. I really enjoyed Tears of the Kingdom. And I cannot wait to jump back into it at 4K 60 frames. That's insane. I cannot wait to see like how the water looks, to see how the grass looks, to see how like the fighting animations are flying through the air, like, and being in the underground area and the darker areas, to be able to see how they did like the chasms and stuff, and see like I just cannot wait to see what they did to make that game look amazing, right? To make it look amazing, because it already played amazing, right? And that was the best part about Tears of the Kingdom, is that it played great. Now it's going to look and run great on top of it. And I just think that this is like going to be a very special experience. So I'm very excited to share that with folks. A couple of the other things that I'm excited about. I'm excited about the GameShare feature. I don't know how many people are going to be super amped up about the GameChat thing. I know it's kind of novel. I know it's not necessarily something that like many people are interested in. Not very many people like to hang out in like a Discord call, as an example, just share your screen and just exist with other people, and just be able to like every once in a while just look over and go, hey, look at this. And you like show your screen, and you get to share something funny, and you get to have a laugh, and then you both just go back to doing your individual thing. That is my love language. I love doing that type of thing. That's how me and my friends operate, how everybody that I'm close with operates. I really like just being able to exist in the same room with somebody that I care about, and being able to do that online with folks and just be able to share your game no matter what game you're playing. It doesn't matter if you're playing together. You can play your single player experiences as well and just be able to, like, you know, be together. It's just cool, man. It's just cool. It's you never realized how far apart you were until everything happened with COVID, and being able to have that experience regardless of where those people are and regardless of where you are in life too, right? Like, and this is to the folks too at home that are younger, and you've got, you know, your high school friends, your college friends. You know, eventually you guys aren't going to be that close together anymore. You're going to be split apart. This is a way for you to actually continue to maintain that relationship and be able to be together without having to, you know, get a capture card or get on Discord or connect it to your PC and like try to figure all that out and work with OBS, right? And try to figure all this out. You don't have to do that now. It's included right on the Switch system. You can continue to have like family, you know, relations. You can continue playing with your family back home. You know, there's just so much to that I feel like maybe most of the gamers online might not appreciate, but for the folks that play video games for like the experience side of it, I feel like this is going to be a really special thing. And the GameShare feature, by the way, where you're able to share a game with friends on regardless of what system they're on, they're able to participate as long as the game is available on that console, right? I'm sure you can't share Switch 2 games, two regular Switches, but Switch games can be played from the Switch 2, and you can share that one game to the other three consoles. They used to do that on the DS, and it was so much fun to be able to just buy one copy of Mario Kart, and then all of us could play Mario Kart. Like, that was so fun, on the DS specifically. That was so cool. And I'm so glad that they brought that feature back and made it. And there'll be games that are limited where you can only, where you can't do the online game share and you can only do it locally. And, you know, all of that will still come into play, I'm sure. The fact that they're offering that as an option is so cool to me. And it's just something that I think is kind of flying under the radar right now, because again, it's another positive thing that maybe, you know, takes away or detracts from the from the negative stuff. But like, I feel like that's something we should really be excited about. The one thing that I will criticize from the event, and I feel like this criticism is very fair, that tech demo that they're releasing, I think that that's such a cool thing for kids specifically, because it can get them into engineering. It can get them into like video game design and getting interested in those type of things. And making that cost money and not just be included with the system feels a little wrong to me. And I do feel like that's a little like, that's somewhere I think Nintendo probably needs to take a step back and go, ooh, maybe we should just include this, right? Like, if you get the bundle with Mario Kart World, maybe it includes this new Switch game as well, this new like tech demo game as well. Because having to spend money, even if it's only $5, which $5 isn't that much, right? But even if it's only $5, I really don't think you should have to spend $5 to get a game like that. I really don't. It should just be included. You know, give the kids a reason to be excited about, you know, the Switch that they're playing, the new console that they're playing, help them understand like the mechanisms in it, you know, and get the world's next engineer super excited, right? That's the beauty of the art form that is video games, is that there are so many ways to inspire through this art form that I feel like are kind of undervalued. And I do feel like this is a way to get people excited without forcing them to invest in it, right? You know, obviously, like I said, there are a lot of the games that they showcased, including Kirby Air Ride 2. I'm very excited about Kirby Air Riders. Very excited about Kirby Air Riders. But, you know, a lot of the games that were shown, basically all of them I'm pretty excited about. I was a big fan of, I think it's Dragon Drive. That I thought that game looks absolutely great. I've been to the National Veterans Wheelchair Games a couple of times, and it's so cool to watch them play. Like, those are some of the most athletic people I have ever met in my life, regardless, right? They are so athletic, they are so talented, and the fact that there is going to be a game that is basically like wheelchair basketball looks so fun. And the fact that you can like go up a ramp and dive and stuff and dunk, like you can dunk, it's so cool, dude. Like, that's so fun. I cannot wait to see how that plays. I'm very excited to play that as well. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. You know, these are the times I'm actually grateful that I have an L desk, because I'll be able to use both of the mice to be able to play a game like that. I'm super excited to play it, dude. I can't wait. But other than that kind of wraps up my thoughts here. I just wanted to share, I guess, my positivity. I know I kind of like ranted for a while there, and I'll edit this down, obviously, so it won't be as big of a rant, but I've been recording for about 45 to 50 minutes at this point. I don't know. I tend to be forever the optimist. So take even what I say with a grain of salt, right? But what I'm asking is that when you go into these other videos, try to take it with a grain of salt, right? try to go into it with a little bit more optimism. I recognize that, you know, especially the last 5 years has been really challenging and really hard for everybody, right? Not just me, not just anybody in certain countries, where you live, who you are, how you identify, right? Everybody has had rough times the last 5 years specifically. All I'm asking is for us to take a step back in this one particular moment and just try to find the positive, right? Try to be a little optimistic about this, because there's been so many good things shown, and it's like, it's so easy to get dragged into the negative side of it. Just try to open up your mind a little to try to be optimistic about this, because I really do believe that it's not going to be as bad as people think. I really do. And again, if I end up being wrong, I'll just be incredibly disappointed, and I'll hop back on here, make another video, and be like, hey, I was wrong, right? Like I have no shame in that. I'll absolutely admit it, because, you know, the best part about life is that as you grow, you learn, right? You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna be wrong. You're gonna not have the right take sometimes, and being able to learn from that and grow from that is the best part of being alive. So all I'm asking right now is that you take a step back, you give them an opportunity to prove us right or wrong, and then you go from there, right? All that said, thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, make sure you like the video, comment, consider subscribing as well. We do a variety of content here. I'm so close to 1,000 subscribers. It'd really mean a lot if you help us get over that hump. And let me know down below, you know, let me know what your concerns are. Let me know what you're excited about. I'd love to hear what you're excited about. If you could share what you're excited about, that would be rad, because I'd love to see some more positivity from the community in general, just the YouTube community and just folks online in general. But if you've got something positive to share, if you're excited about something in particular, if you're excited to jump into Kirby Air Riders, if, you know, Dusk Bloods is something that you're super excited about, which now we know is a PvPvE game, which I know there's a lot of folks that are poo-pooing that too, but I'm just excited. I played Night Rain, the network test. I thought that game was super cool. So I'm very excited to see what FromSoft does with Miyazaki leading the charge with a PvPvE game. I cannot wait to see what that's all about. But yeah, I appreciate y'all. I hope y'all have a great rest of your day. I hope you enjoy the tree houses over the next couple of days. And as always, we'll see you again in the next one. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.